Disclaimer: this episode was recorded and originally released before any of the COVID 19 vaccines available today were approved in India. However, the rest of the research on the benefits of vaccination and disproved myths stands true even today. Have you heard about the hedonic treadmill? It's the human tendency to adapt to any situation quickly and work towards the next big thing, so we don't end up staying too happy or too sad for too long. We see that this has happened with COVID 19 too. When the pandemic broke, we panicked, but only for a moment. Our next instinct was to get educated on measures to protect ourselves from the virus. And once we got the hang of social distancing, wearing masks and sanitizing, our next stop was worrying about when a vaccine would be ready and how soon we could all get immunized. And the treadmill seems to have slowed down a little at this point. What I mean is that while some vaccine candidates have been approved and will be available soon, there are lingering concerns over the vaccine. Will it really help control the spread of the disease? Will there be any long-term side effects? Hi there. You're listening to Unviral, the podcast where we at Factly tackle that dangerous combination of the two kinds of virality: misinformation about health. I'm Parvati Mohan, production lead at Factly, and in today's episode, we look at fake news about immunization. Concerns about vaccination are not new. People have been asking these questions about vaccines and vaccination for years before COVID 19 came into the picture. Vaccination has found its name in some unflattering places. There are loud whispers about vaccination leading to autism and the MMR vaccine being used by the government to stall population growth of a particular community. This is worrisome for a developing overpopulated country like India, because in a place that is so densely populated, the chances of disease outbreak are already high, and not being vaccinated against preventable diseases only increases the chances of contracting communicable diseases. Vaccines prevent millions of deaths every year, and we have seen how targeted vaccination drives have made the country polio-free. So, why do people still resist vaccination? Here's where we take you back to the loud whispers against vaccination we spoke about a little earlier. Like most important things, vaccination is not immune to the dangers of misinformation. A big part of what we do at Factly is debunking fake news. And over the past few months, we've seen so many social media posts that show so much mistrust towards the COVID 19 vaccines. And some of these are outright ridiculous, like, the vaccine will be used to alter human DNA and make us develop some animal-like features. And this is not limited to COVID 19 vaccines. With me is Nandita Kalidos, the Factly Facebook Health Fellow. Hi, Nandita.
Hi, Parvati.
So in a lot of these fact checks that we do about COVID 19 vaccines, we see a general hesitation to take the vaccine. A lot of people, come back at us saying, you take the vaccine first, we don't trust you, we will not get the vaccine. So why is there this hesitation towards vaccination?
The human psychology is as such that when you do not understand something, when something is uncertain, you tend to be hesitant towards taking it. Similar is the case with vaccines. Vaccine hesitancy, for that matter, is as old as vaccination itself. And this is not specific to, say, COVID 19 vaccines, but it has been existent, say, for polio or any other vaccine that has been taken in the history. There are multiple reasons behind the apprehension for taking these vaccines, and these can range from being anti-religious. By that I mean to say that the disease itself is an act of God, and to go against that and taking vaccination against the disease is equivalent to committing a sin. And there are, other reasons like, vaccinations are linked to autism, which has been disproved multiple times, and there is scientific evidence towards it. But still, misinformation is actually pretty sticky. People tend to remember these rumors more than the scientific evidence as such. So that is why there always been the hesitancy, and there continues to be this vaccine hesitancy going forward.
I mentioned some ridiculous claims about the COVID vaccines earlier. But I've also come across one that may not seem so ridiculous. It may seem a little more plausible to people who hear it, that the vaccine will cause infertility in men and women. You've been studying misinformation in the health sector, Nandita. What does science say about the chances of vaccination leading to infertility?
This claim is in fact not specific to COVID 19 vaccines, People have been saying these things about vaccines in general for a long time. And all of this is clearly false. To create infertility in men and women, you would have to inject separate vaccines, and that is not the case right now. If you see, vaccines under development right now are not gender specific, so there is no way that specific ingredients can in the vaccine can cause any infertility. And there have been these claims earlier as well that certain ingredients in the vaccine are harmful to either of the sexes, but that is not the case.
Right. But, generally when we talk about vaccination, we hear these things in the news, we read about it that, children develop fevers or people develop allergic reactions to vaccines. And that really makes me wonder. And now I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist and I'm going to put this question to you because these questions get thrown at me all the time. How do I know that what is being cooked in these labs is not going to work against me, that it is in my best interests? Maybe someone out there is just trying to get my money or something.
Yes, but it is important to understand the difference here, No vaccine is risk free. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, no vaccine is licensed where the benefits don't hugely outweigh the risks. By this, I mean to say, probably 1 in a million children or like a million people will develop a rash or fever. But that doesn't undermine the efficacy and the safety of the entire vaccine administered to billions of people. All vaccines are made available in the market only after multiple trials, and they have to and mandatorily abide by the standardized immunization and safety rules. And without doing that, no vaccine is ever administered to the general public.
Yeah, so I understand that a lot of this is like a touchy topic, but another major touchy topic in India is childbirth, anything to do with childbearing and pregnancy. And even in that, we come across this claim that vaccination during pregnancy will harm the baby. Is there any credibility to this?
In fact, there is more harm to the baby if the mother does not take the required vaccines. Because, say for instance, the mother catches flu or any minor issue, also any minor disease during the pregnancy, it leads to serious complications like, say, preterm labor and birth. So it's got greater risks than benefits associated with it.
Yeah, but there's also the question of when we say vaccination, a lot of times we are talking about children in the 0 to 5 age group. And here again, there is this whole thing that, vaccination will affect a child's memory and its learning abilities, its capacities. And to me, that's absurd because so many of us have been vaccinated and we turned out fine, right? At least I hope so.
Again, this particular issue goes back to the parents. Now, these parents just go through some WhatsApp forwards, and because they care so much about their child's health, they do not want to risk by introducing these foreign objects as they understand what vaccinations are. So, therefore, they fear the side effects of the vaccinations and say that they think it is easier to fight the disease than say getting than being exposed to a longer term problem in life.
Now, that's interesting that you mentioned this thing where, people think, okay, getting the infection and fighting it off is better than taking a vaccine, which will lead to long term effects. So, what is happening here is basically questioning the very, the fundamental concept itself of vaccination. And here we see things like vaccination is bad for the immune system because it overburdens it and, drives it to overdrive. Or that, like you said, natural immunity is better than vaccination. All we need to do from our side is maintain basic hygiene and we should generally be all right.
Yes, we definitely need to maintain good hygiene. There is no doubt about that. But if you just take the instance of COVID 19, we have taken all kinds of precautions, all kinds of hand washing, bathing, having everything sanitized. And still, the issue with communicable diseases is that they spread fast. So, therefore, vaccinations are an addition to your immunity system. They help you to respond better, boost your immunity system, and respond to the newer enemy that is inside your body. And this is something that you cannot develop naturally.
Yes, so all this is coming from a place of genuine concern where, is vaccination itself good or bad for us? And like you said, people are falling prey to WhatsApp forwards and things like that. Now, the other side of this whole thing is who is on the other side of these WhatsApp forwards or other kinds of misinformation, because clearly there is some kind of orchestrated effort, to make immunization as a practice look bad. For instance, if we look at what happened in Malappuram in Kerala in 2017, when there was this sudden resistance to the MMR vaccine, saying it is designed by the Modi government to control population growth among Muslims in India. And as a result of all that, vaccination rates actually fell. So that raises a concern, right? If something like this can happen in a place as educated and forward thinking as Kerala, what about the rest of the country?
Right. So let's understand two things here. One is the misinformation angle, wherein, like I had mentioned earlier, there are these parents who want the best for their children, so they believe whatever that comes on WhatsApp, and they think that they're doing a favor by forwarding it to others, and innocently they forward these messages to others for their benefit. And the second thing is the disinformation, wherein people, like you have mentioned, it's an orchestrated effort wherein people actually want to uh, dissipate negative information about this entire vaccination as a program. And for that, they will obviously include unscientific and a lot of psychological things, like say religious angle, and this being an issue with trying to regulate the Muslim population. This has been a horrific case study in Kerala's Malappuram district, where we have seen that over 2 lakh children were not actually immunized against the MMR vaccine because they believed in these mis and disinformation. And this actually tells you that misinformation has nothing to do with however educated or progressive you are, but it actually seeps into your religious and cultural values, and that is where when the psychological aspect kicks in, and that is where you are so I will say psychologically manipulated rather than looking at, say, facts and figures and the scientific evidence. So that is why I think this as such is a huge problem, and this has got nothing to do with how progressive the state is.
There's clearly a lot of confusion around vaccination and immunization, mostly created by all the misinformation and disinformation that we've been talking about. And to think all this confusion can be avoided by dispelling the rumors and getting people to look at vaccines more favorably. Now, we don't want our listeners to think that we are taking a pro vaccine stance because there is something in it for us. Everything that we've said here today comes from hours of research. And we'll even leave you with some of these good resources in the description so you can do your own fact checks. And you don't just have to take our word for it. We have with us Dr. Shimna Azeez, who has been the face of the movement against misinformation on vaccination in Kerala, specifically in Malappuram. Thank you, Dr. Shimna Azeez, for joining us on Unviral. As I was just telling our listeners earlier, you are someone who has been the face of the anti-vaccination campaign in Malappuram. Could you tell us about your experience tackling such a challenge head on?
Thank you for calling me here. As you already mentioned, Malappuram has faced a lot of anti vaccination movements, and over here, actually, it was a bit too difficult in the beginning because there was a lot of misinformation flooding on the social media, say WhatsApp and Facebook and everywhere possible. And when there were voice messages, and for instance, if I talk about the MR campaign, the measles rubella vaccination campaign, even before we started to work on the campaign and spreading proper messages, there were misinformation, and all those messages claimed that those vaccines are to sterilize the children and all that. So people were very emotional, very harsh and rude to us. But with time, with a lot of patience, and with a lot of awareness sessions with the common people in their common language, we were able to tackle this problem. And it was it was not easy, but it was possible with proper planning, and proper time management, and a really, really good teamwork.
Hmm. In a situation like this, how do you handle the concerns of parents? That must have been tricky. I mean, there was an instance when you'd taken the vaccine yourself, right?
It happened that once I had to talk to a lot of parents in a gathering, some around some 500 people, and over there, one of the parents challenged me, asking me to take an MR vaccine on myself. Yeah, I did accept that, because if I had not accepted that, I'm sure that all those parents would not have taken it on to them. So, yes, I did it. I administered the MR vaccine with the help of my team there. And with that particular act, whole of Kerala, they were like, yeah, they were like, they trusted me, they trusted the vaccine, and it did do something. It did add something positively to the MR campaign in Kerala. At that moment, what I thought was, yes, if I do vaccinate myself, it is going to end up in good. And on one side, I'm going to get immunity against measles and rubella, and on the other side, I'm going to get immunity against the anti-vaccination campaign.
There are a lot of debates on the safety and efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines that are available now. So, about that, what is your message for the people? Should we get inoculated with the COVID-19 vaccines?
Definitely, there is no question or choice for the COVID vaccine. You must get immunized against COVID 19 disease, or say the SARS coronavirus too, because we are stuck in this world right from the end of 2019 to the beginning of 2021. We are like, we don't know what to do, we are not able to travel, we are not able to eat, we are not able to sleep, or we are just held inside our homes. Our children can't go and play outside, and they can't go to school. We have lost our freedom to travel, to eat outside. See, there is just one answer to all these queries. It is COVID 19 vaccine. Yes, me, you, everyone around who are above 18 years of age and who do not have any contraindications against this vaccine must get vaccinated, and we need to be safe, and we deserve a better life. We need to live the life which we used to live in 2019. We'll definitely come out of this.
We hope this discussion on vaccination has helped you clear some of your doubts. If you have more questions, get in touch with us on WhatsApp or social media, and we will get back to you. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and remember to unviral. Unviral by Factly is researched by Nandita Kalidas, written, hosted, and produced by Parvati Mohan, and edited and designed by Jyoti Jiru. Thank you for listening.